Most people think pressure breaks systems. It doesn't. What breaks systems is when people stop believing effort matters. That is dangerous moment. Not anger. Not protest. Exhaustion. The quiet realization that working harder no longer feels connected to moving forward. People can survive pressure. Humans are remarkably adaptable. Stress, long hours, uncertainty, none of these automatically destroy a system, but something changes. When effort stops feeling meaningful, when progress feels delayed, when stability feels farther away, no matter how disciplined you become. And lately, more people are feeling it. Not dramatically, subtly. A constant low-level pressure. Everything costs more. Energy feels lower. Time feels shorter. And somehow, life feels increasingly difficult to stabilize. Not impossible, just exhausting. That distinction matters, because modern systems do not require collapse. They require continuity. People still wake up, still work, still consume, still continue. The system does not need your optimism, only your participation. And participation survives surprisingly long, even without hope. This is where many people become confused. They assume systems are designed primarily to improve lives, to create fairness, to maximize opportunity. But systems are not moral organisms. They are stabilizing structures. Their first priority is continuity. That does not make them evil. It makes them systems. Every organized society requires hierarchy. Coordination requires structure. Structure requires predictability. Without stability, nothing scales. Not infrastructure, not economies, not institutions. This is important to understand, because the problem is not hierarchy itself. The problem begins when systems slowly optimize for preserving themselves, instead of renewing opportunity, and this drift is almost invisible. No announcement, no conspiracy, no singular decision, just gradual adaptation. A stable system eventually protects continuity before mobility. That sentence explains more modern frustration than most political arguments ever will. Because mobility creates instability. When people move too quickly, systems become harder to predict, harder to organize, harder to stabilize. But predictable people are easier to manage. So over time, systems begin rewarding consistency more than transformation. Reliable workers, reliable consumers, reliable debt, reliable routines, not necessarily fulfilled people, predictable people. And stability and pressure can exist at the same time. This is one of the defining characteristics of modern life. The trains still run, the stores still open, the screens still glow, the system still functions. Meanwhile, people quietly feel themselves shrinking inside it, emotionally, psychologically, financially, not collapsing, compressing. This creates a strange emotional state, not panic, not rebellion, resignation. A feeling that effort still matters, but matters less. And that difference changes behavior. When effort reliably improves life, people tolerate pressure. But when effort feels disconnected from reward, motivation begins to decay. Not instantly, gradually. You still work. You still show up. You still continue. But emotionally, you stop learning forward. And systems feel this before individuals consciously understand it. Because human behavior changes subtly first. People stop planning long-term, stop taking risks, stop imagining futures larger than survival. Ambition narrows. Attention narrows. Life becomes maintenance. Not because people became lazy, because uncertainty became expensive. This is where emotional fatigue becomes structural. People often think burnout comes from working too much. Sometimes it does, but deeper exhaustion comes from psychological asymmetry. Giving more while feeling less movement, pushing harder while sensing less possibility. People can survive pressure. They struggle to survive meaninglessness. That combination slowly destabilizes motivation itself. And meaning matters more than comfort. Humans can survive hardship surprisingly well. If hardship still feels connected to possibility. But remove possibility, and even comfort starts feeling empty. This is why modern exhaustion feels different. Many people technically survive. Some even function well. But internally, something feels disconnected. The effort is still there. The reward feels abstract, distant, delayed. And eventually, people stop expecting life to improve structurally. That is the moment systems should fear most, not outrage, detachment. Because detached populations become psychologically passive, not weak, adaptive. Learned helplessness rarely appears dramatic. It looks normal. People continue routines, continue working, continue consuming, but internally, they stop believing their actions meaningfully alter outcomes. And once that belief weakens, behavior changes quietly. Risk decreases. Creativity decreases. Hope becomes cautious. Everything becomes smaller, safer, more predictable. Again, predictability stabilizes systems. But it also slowly drains vitality from the people inside them. This is the dark irony. The same mechanisms that create large-scale stability can slowly reduce emotional mobility. Not intentionally, structurally. The system does not need your failure, only your consistency. And consistency becomes easier to maintain when survival consumes most of your energy. At this point, many people begin searching for explanations. Some blame themselves. Some blame entire groups. Some become obsessed with productivity. Others disconnect completely. But most of this reaction miss something deeper. The feeling is real, even when the explanation is wrong, because something genuinely has shifted. Modern systems became extraordinarily efficient at maintaining continuity. But continuity and human flourishing are not automatically the same thing. A system can remain stable, while people inside it increasingly feel psychologically trapped. And trapped does not always mean physically trapped. Sometimes it means psychologically cornered, a sense that every path forward requires sacrificing something essential: time, energy, meaning, connection. This creates a hidden emotional atmosphere: low trust, low optimism, low emotional resilience. Not because people are irrational, because prolonged pressure reshapes perception. Men can't tolerate difficulty. What becomes dangerous is feeling stuck. Eventually, people stop asking, "How do I build a better future?" and start asking, "How do I survive without collapsing?" That shift changes societies quietly, and the system adapts to it, because systems adapt to behavior, not emotion. If people continue functioning, the structure interprets that as stability. Even if people internally feel exhausted, even if relationships weaken, even if meaning erodes, even if emotional numbness spreads, the system sees continuity. And continuity looks like success. This is why modern pressure feels difficult to explain. Nothing appears completely broken, but something feels increasingly difficult to sustain psychologically. People still move, still work, still consume, still continue, but emotionally, many no longer feel connected to the future they are maintaining. And that creates a dangerous distance, not between people and power, between effort and belief. Because once people stop believing, effort changes anything. They do not necessarily revolt. Sometimes they simply disengage internally, and systems built entirely on passive continuation become fragile in ways that are difficult to measure, not economically, psychologically. This does not mean collapse is inevitable, but it does mean something important. A stable system can still produce emotionally exhausted people. A functioning society can still feel psychologically unwinnable. And modern life becomes very difficult to navigate when survival remains possible, but meaningful progress feels increasingly abstract. The unsettling part is that no single person designed this outcome. It emerged naturally from optimization, from stability, from systems protecting continuity for too long. And maybe that exhaustion you feel is not weakness. Maybe it is the psychological cost of living inside systems optimized for continuity, long after they stopped optimizing for meaning, because the system does not need your collapse, only your consistency. And the moment you understand that, you begin seeing modern life differently, not as chaos, as structure.